In this real-side experience, I would return to my house, but choosing to enter it through the back door and garden as opposed to the front, as I usually would. What confronted me now was a mass of police officers. There must have been 20 or so of them. They seemed to have their attentions on the back door to my house, peering in the windows, but seemed as though indecisive as to their course of action. They would become aware of my presence and determined that I was indeed the house owner, as they inquired as to my presence here and such, for, as it transpired, the house seemed to be full of monsters of some description. The cops were not very forthcoming with information as to the nature of this threat, or perhaps they genuinely didn't know exactly what was lurking in the house, although whatever it was indeed a serious national threat and issue, and the number of police here, and the fact there were helicopters hovering over my house, did suggest the seriousness of this situation. My awareness afforded me the sense of a forbidding menace in the house, its exact form indeterminable, but it was some kind of creature or creatures whose point of origin was the upstairs of my house. As I peered in the windows also, I could see a murky green swamp-like gas drifting from the upstairs and filling the downstairs floor. I had the impression some portal had opened up in the upstairs that had allowed the entry of whatever it was that was now present, with the police having determined me to be the house owner and somehow the cause of this situation. I was under arrest and not allowed to leave, remaining in their custody. I would argue vehemently with these cops, but saw little sense in doing so, as it was an argument with no resolve. Instead, I became rather cheeky and sarcastic to them, but this just made the situation even worse. In the end, I just took the moment to speak to them all about the creational demise of the simulator we were in. The world controller created destruction, and the myriad of forms this takes as everyday experience, from chemtrails to 5G, etc. They seemed somewhat incredulous, and I went on to explain how the movies are very much documentaries, and the controllers tend reveal what they are seeking to bring into creation through agreement in the general themes portrayed in the movies. I told them how there were major Earth changes ahead, and they really ought to get prepared for this through their real awareness, even though they seemed to not be accepting what I was telling them. At least I seemed on more amiable ground with them. One of them jokingly asked me what it was like to be the country's most wanted, in reference to this situation that I had been responsible for. One of the cops was still rather irate at me. The police were getting set to break into the house and confront whatever it was that was inside. They would ask me about my pet dogs, and if they were aggressive, I would inform them that they were harmless, and the police need not be concerned. The experience ended here, and at first I pondered that the cops may have been guides, but judging by their reaction to what I spoke to them regarding what's really happening in the world, I'm uncertain that they were. Although it would have followed that had I inadvertently opened some portal or other, and perhaps this was a heads-up or future view, that the guides may well have presented as cops, as they sometimes are inclined to do so, and were here to deal with this situation. That I came in via the back garden suggests maybe a subconscious, unconscious agreement that had allowed such a portal and presence of monsters to be. An agreement that initiated on the real side, the upper floor of the house, as everything comes from there, then manifests into the physical. the first floor of the house. Sometimes, as I go through my process, some subconscious agreements manifest as thought forms and present as monsters in my personal self-house. As I become aware of them, and then decide their release. But these, whatever they were, came more from a portal, as I said, as was my impression.
Well, it's understandable, Kevin, with what you're going through and how you've stepped up, etc. Yes, we all get it. Because the more risk taker you are, the more things that are going to happen. It's just a given. Through the course of Claudia and Sandy, and especially Sandy, boy, she really got, even Joni physically appeared to her and socked her in the chin. That's just one of many things, and creatures coming through portals and whatever into her house and what have you. And so, when you started the experience, yes, the police are the boys, is what they are. And they're there for you, but at the same time, they're creating the situation of a particular so that, they're a little bit, they're firm with you, even screaming at you or whatever. The idea is it's all about attention, isn't it? Paying attention. And it's okay. We all need help, and they're there for us. That's why they're there, etc. But they're just playing the role like, okay, well, what is this? What's happening? Whatever. That's why they're there. They already see it. They already know it. But what you've done is it's okay. These things are going to happen. Paul would, in his days, they didn't have email. They didn't have computers and whatever. He would get letters, and he could sense the letter. He would pick it up. And he wouldn't even open it. He would just drop it into the trash can because of just the vibrations of the negativity on it and the attitudes people have, etc. So, as we do this, yes, this is why many people are afraid to step up, because they know within themselves, it's like the old saying, don't make waves. Okay. You kind of just go along with things. Most people do. Even the ones that know the government is a stinker and doing all these things, they just don't want to say anything because they don't want to be hassled. They don't want to be confronted, etc. And so the same, especially with this is the big picture. Yes, you're facing everything and you see all the obstacles, etc. So your experiences are great. The idea that it's has something to do with national security or whatever you said, that was a good one. Yes, that's you can always bring that in too and tell them they like that, etc. But objectively, when you look at the experience, because you're in the experience, and I'm sitting over here listening to it, so I'm more objective about it, and so is everybody else. Like watching a movie, you're more objective in it than in the scene, because sometimes you don't know what to do or say or whatever. But this is where you prepare yourself from all this that you've gone through, as you confront these situations. And you take the risk, you see. And that is that whatever your view was, if you were just considering these were the regular police and you were explaining to them about what's going on in the world, and they're just, they're listening, and it's like they're pretending like, well, we don't want to hear it. Okay. You see? So again, as you wake up to what's really going on, then it actually becomes more fun, but you become more capable too. So that's why they're there. They're just helping you to wake up. And what you did, it's all okay. It happens. It's happening everywhere. We can't control it. It's like what these individuals are doing in the world that are destroying this place. We're aware of it, but we can't stop them. And, whatever's happening there in your experience, they come into the house. But yeah, you coming through the back door, yes, that's obvious of a subconscious experience like that. But that's all okay. It's all of creation is unconsciousness. It's all the same. But these are great. Training sessions. These are terrific. We'll line these up, and this becomes how real things are getting. And for those that want a real adventure, this is it. Because things are happening here. We see it all the time. And so it's a big preparation because, again, most people are going to be taken out because they're just not waking up. But again, thank you so much. Very grateful for you and others that do step up, have the courage to share, because yes, it's not always going to be fun. See, we've been taught that, okay, it's all going to be glorious, wonderful, and whatever. Well, this is marketing ploy to us, and we'll live happily ever after. Well, that can be so in the real universes, but in creation, no. You don't instantly change creation because you're a nicer person. No, creation is still what it is, isn't it? So we learn to see what it is, and we learn to wake up to recognize the real universes, as opposed to going to a nice place that we're going to be happy, etc. Because that's just another place in creation that's going to be infected too, because everything is infected. So it becomes very interesting. Like never before, what is being presented here is like never before, because it's all been hidden. Now it's coming out. Now it's a lot more fun.
I find that like your experience here with the guides and how they guide us, you could say. From my experience, it's never what I think it's going to be like. Not that I think it's going to be like a certain way, but it's not like it's right in front of you. For me, it usually comes from the back door, like you went in the back door of your house there. It's a lot more subtle, and the guidance is not what we're accustomed to. So it's a different way of looking at it and seeing it and recognizing it. So it's not like it's going to just come out in front of you. And even if it does, the experience, well, it's usually there's more to it. So it's a subtle way that we recognize things, so it's very interesting the way it is, in my experience. It's different than the old spiritual, enlightenment idea and that sort of thing, realization, that sort of thing. So